My wife likes to quilt and wants to have a place for her completed quilts to hang. What she currently has is a little small and doesn't show off her quilts very well. So she has asked me to build a couple of ladders for her. The design she chose gives me a good opportunity to practice my joinery skills. Let's take a look at what I'll be trying to make. Each ladder will have 6 rungs that are attached to the legs using mortise and tenon joinery. Instead of hiding the tenons by having the mortises stop partway through the leg, I would like to show them off. I do this by cutting the mortise all the way through the leg. By doing this, the tenon's end grain will be exposed when fit inside the mortise. I will further highlight the joint by adding a wedge with the contrasting wood in the middle of the tenon. Now notice that the wedge is horizontal instead of vertical. The wedging action when driving these in could cause a split if I orient them the other way. One of the more subtle features of the ladder is that the legs actually have a slight splay to them. If you take a measurement of the distance between the legs at the bottom of the ladder, you'll see that it is a few inches greater than a measurement taken from the top. This splay will slightly add to the stability of the ladder. And it also means that the rungs do not attach to the legs at 90 degrees. So I'll need to cut the tenon shoulders and mortises at an angle. That's about all there is to the ladder, so let me show you how I went about building them. I'll cut the tenons using the table saw. I made a jig that will ride along the table saw's fence, holding the rung upright while it is passed over the saw blade. I also need to hold the rung at an angle that matches the splay of the ladder, so the jig is adjustable in a way that will facilitate this. Ideally, I would have cut the shoulder lines separately from the tenon cheeks for a cleaner cut, but doing the shoulders in multiple passes worked well enough. After the tenons are all cut, I'll use them to mark layout lines on the ladder's legs. I set the rung shoulder flush against the leg and mark the sides using a pencil. I transfer these lines over to either side of the leg. And after that, I mark lines for the mortise in the center of the legs. I'm chopping my mortises by hand, and so I've sized the mortise and tenon based on my chisel thickness. You don't need to do this, but it does make it a little easier to have a consistent mortise width since the chisel automatically does this for you. I don't start chopping right at my layout line, but around 1/8 of an inch over. This is to prevent the chisel from squishing the ends of the mortise as I pry out the waste. I'll cut the final 1/8 after I've gone all the way through the leg. For the angle, I'm just eyeballing it. I'm holding my chisel so its body extends the layout lines that I've drawn. Each whack of the mallet doesn't cut that much, so it isn't too bad to adjust and get the desired angle. I still need to cut the slots for the decorative wedges. I drill stop holes where the ends of the wedges will be to help prevent splitting. I reuse the tenoning jig to cut the slot. For the wedges, I cut strips of walnut at the table saw. These are oversized, and so I'll trim them down after fitting them in the slots cut into the tenons. Assembly is just applying glue to the tenons and driving into the mortise. For one side, I decide to glue each rung and add the wedge one at a time. Given the amount of time it would take me to assemble everything, I was a little worried that the glue would fill and dry in the slot for the wedge and gum things up a bit. I am also using a liquid hide glue here instead of a PVA glue so that I can have a longer open time. Once all the rungs are attached to one side, I flip things over and attach the other side. Because I already have the rungs in place, I have to join this all in one go. Once the side has been fully joined, I tap the wedges into place. After waiting a day for the glue to dry, I cut everything using a flush cutting saw. The little sawdust and glue, and these wedge tenons look pretty nice. After slapping some stain and finish on the ladder, it's good to go. Thanks for watching.